With most indie games developed by a single dev or a small studio, I feel they become hyper-focused on one part of their game, while the rest of the game doesn't quite feel as polished. This isn't true for all indie games, and it's definitely not true for this game today. Hey, Jarek here, and this is Sprawl. If you only take one thing away from this video, that thing should be that Sprawl is an insanely good game. And the second thing should be that if you enjoy games like Doom Eternal, you will love Sprawl. Thankfully, Sprawl is different enough to be its own game. It doesn't just feel like a clone of Doom Eternal or anything else like it. Sprawl is a fast-paced movement shooter where you can quick swap weapons as much as you please. But before I talk about the combat, I need to explain the setup and talk about the game itself. As a PC release, this is pretty good. I didn't have any crashing issues. It was running at 200, 300 FPS plus the entire time. That part's not really a surprise, this is a retro shooter after all. But what did surprise me was the DLSS options and the DLAA options. And yeah, this works as you would expect. You can tinker graphic options and general settings as much as you please. I don't really have any complaints here. But I do have one complaint with the controls. Aiming is fine, controls feel intuitive and all of that, but there's one really big problem. You can't rebind the weapons. You can rebind everything else, you just can't put weapons to certain keys on your keyboard. So by default, it's going to be 1 through 9. 9 is way too far away to push in the middle of combat. I rebind everything around WASD, so it's only one key away. You can't do that here. The result is that I was forced to use the weapon dial, which I hate using because it breaks combat, and it has an even bigger problem. It stops slow motion. Yeah, slow motion is not toggle in this game. Hold down right click and you will activate slow-mo. Let it go, it will stop. I thought this would be a problem, but no, it feels pretty intuitive. But when I want to pull out the rocket launcher that's bound way across the keyboard, it gets rid of slow motion, so I can't swap quickly like I want to. Or I can, but it'll put me in danger because slow motion stopped. I'm making this video about 5 days before the game comes out, and I really hope they fix this. That's a really big issue. And it's the only one, so that's a little disappointing. This is not an issue big enough to make me not play a game, but it's a really confusing one, especially since the rest of the game is incredibly well polished. I mean, look at these environments. You're in a sci-fi dystopian hell of a future. And man, this game nails that look, and so does the music. The music deserves its own spot in this video. It's like electro-industrial breakcore. Even better, the music is adaptive to what you are currently doing. Remember how awesome it felt in Doom Eternal when the music kicked up and you're just killing everything? This game does exactly that. The occasional aggressive use of drum samples reminded me of a song from Monster Truck Madness 2 of all things. Okay, the music is a lot more varied than just that, and the fact that it changes depending on what you're doing in game, without you even really noticing, it just sort of flows, is so cool. I wish more games did this. It's such a cool feature, but I imagine it is pretty difficult to pull off. Okay, but what is actually going on here? How did the city get to this point? Who are you, and why do people want to kill you? Instead of explaining it myself, I think it's better if you get it directly from the game.
I believe that now is an appropriate time to introduce myself. I am Father. Much like you, I was created by the corporate government to be used as a tool of suppression. You've done unspeakable things, all in the names of cowards who seek to advance no one but themselves. You chose exile in search of penance, in place of revenge. I seek to give you both, and in return, I will be set free.
A problem I have all too often with indie first-person shooters is they make this beautifully crafted environment, and then they don't ask any questions about it. You have questions that you want answered, but the game doesn't pose them to you nor give you answers. Let's take District Steel, for example. I really like this game. It's a lot of fun. Problem is, I don't know what the hell is going on. There's literally no story. This environment has tons of detail, but I want to know why I'm fighting robots, what happened in this world, but you don't get any answers. The game hyperfixates on just the combat. That's not a bad place to start, but a basic explanation would be nice. Meanwhile, in Sprawl, they give you a location, they give you a backstory, and more importantly, they have you ask questions. You want to know who this voice in your head is and why he wants you to do the things you're doing. Sprawl even has plenty of environmental storytelling. Hell, you can find QR codes in the environment that when you scan with your phone will give you more backstory. This is totally optional. It's not required to know what's going on, but it's a nice little thing for people that explore. They also give you a little more information per every level that loads. Again, this is not groundbreaking storytelling. It's not going to win any awards, but it's nice that it's even there considering how many boomer shooters don't even try. And it's not mandatory to make a good first-person shooter with a good story. I mean, your focus is combat after all, but doing more than just that is good to see. And speaking of combat, it's really good in this game. Just like these shirts. Okay, brief break to talk about Into the AM. Into the AM is a sponsor I've been working with for years, and I really do find their shirts comfortable, they look nice, I like them. I mean, literally, I've been wearing them for years. But they just started a new line called their vintage shirts. They're 100% cotton and they're pre-shrunk. So when you get them, it's the size they're going to stay. This is one of them, and my first reaction to it was, holy hell, this is very soft and it really stretches. I guess that shouldn't be a surprise, it's 100% cotton, but their other shirts are already high quality, so I didn't expect it to be that much softer. They also, of course, have a bunch of really cool designs. Here's one of their other ones on the front and on the back. If you want to get one of these for yourself or any other clothes they have, I mean, if you're watching this, you're probably wearing clothes, or maybe you're laying in bed naked wearing nothing, I won't judge. You can go to intotheam.com/dragonshirts and get 10% off site-wide, including these new vintage shirts. They got more than just these two. So huge thanks to Into the AM for sponsoring this video, and now let's talk about Sprawl's chaotic combat. The first thing I need to mention is the movement. This game expects you to not sit still, but it does so in a way that's very easy to pick up. You really only have two inputs you can do: slide and jump. There's no double jumping, but there is wall jumping. If you run on a wall, you will eventually start falling, obviously, so you will have to wall jump, but you have a limited amount of wall jumps before you need to land again. As for sliding, if you just mash the slide button, you won't really go anywhere, so there is a little bit of timing to this. But mostly, it just allows you to hold the button down longer to slide farther to get the perfect distance. And if you time it correctly, you can slide jump. You have quite a bit of air control as well. Movement feels really good in this game. Wall jumping around opponents to kill them is just so satisfying. It's almost like they saw Titanfall and they wanted to turn that into a boomer shooter. Aside from that, you can melee, which is just a quick sword swing, or you can hold down right click, which will activate slow-mo. This slow-mo is a resource. It will not recharge on its own, so you can't just sit back and wait for it to recharge. When you activate slow-mo, enemies' weak points glow. This is really clever for a multitude of ways. It's easy, you're basically always going to have it, and you're never going to get frustrated wondering where the hell the weak point on an enemy is, especially with bosses. This really allows you to be more clever with bosses without feeling frustrated and not knowing what the solution is. You immediately see it right away, you just need to do it. And the game didn't yell it at you, it didn't explain everything to you. It just gives you the information. Anyway, in order to refill your adrenaline bar, which is what they call slow motion adrenaline, you need to kill enemies by shooting their weak spots. This will have them drop ammo, armor, and adrenaline. So again, it's resource management akin to Doom Eternal. The one thing this won't give you back is armor, and I do wish there was a way to get armor back in some way, because they're scattered throughout the map, and it would be nice to be able to get them in the later parts of the game where it's a little more chaotic. Not required, and I'm not saying every game needs to be like Doom Eternal, but I do wish there was a way to replenish it somehow, but the game takes full control of that. So those are the base mechanics, and you get them right away at the start of the game. Not gonna lie, I struggled at the first big fight in the game, although that was mostly because I was trying to figure out my mouse sensitivity and everything felt off. Eventually I did get that right and it felt more natural, but it definitely does still have that Doom Eternal feeling where when it clicks, when all these mechanics work together, it just feels so right and it's so satisfying. Especially because this game fully embraces quick swapping. Is it required to beat this game? No, but it's clearly made for this to be a thing. The first guns you get in the game are dual-wielding revolvers. These will stay useful from the beginning of the game to the end. They are your strong, accurate combo weapons. Eventually you find a double-barrel pump-action shotgun that is awesome. I actually used Sprawl shotgun in a thumbnail for my Dino Trauma video, and I had people asking, why is Sprawl shotgun in here? It's because it's a really good looking shotgun, especially in a thumbnail. Anyway, this shotgun serves effectively the same purpose as the double barrel in Doom does. The pump animation is very slow, however, you can quickly swap to another weapon and then swap back to the shotgun and shoot immediately. So you can just cancel the animation, and you never have to reload anything. This makes your shotgun invaluable in doing raw damage before swapping to another weapon to finish them off. You'll eventually figure out what enemies require a certain amount of damage and what's the best way to kill them, or at least your most preferred, before swapping it up and experimenting with something else. For example, there are these heavy armored units you find pretty early on in the game. I found a direct shotgun blast and then one pistol shot to the head immediately kills them. Also, the shotgun has more utility. You can shotgun jump. This is just so cool and satisfying. I truthfully didn't use it to its full potential in my playthrough, but I really like this idea. So yeah, the shotgun is definitely the standout in this game, but there's more than just those two weapons, and they're all really satisfying and have their own purpose. You've been seeing the weapons throughout the video, so I won't explain every single weapon. I'll just let you play the game and figure out the stuff on your own. Experiment, have fun. And you'll definitely need to, because throughout the course of the game, the enemies will get stronger. Early on in the game, you'll be fighting mostly humans. These enemies are easier to flinch and have less health. The more you progress throughout the game, the more robot units you'll find. These robot units are harder to flinch, which intuitively makes sense because they're robots. You don't ever get into a situation where you're just lighting up an enemy and you're just saying, how can he shoot me through my own bullets? Everything is visually explained to the player without confusion. Some enemies even require explosives to kill, and in these situations you have two explosive weapons of your own, or you can shoot their own grenades, so you're never at a loss. What I'm saying is that there is always a solution to the problem given to you. Do you have something huge above you shooting at you? Well, sliding is a great way to avoid all their bullets. Nothing is hit scan, so you can dodge everything. Are they shooting grenades at you? Well, if you're fast enough, you can shoot their grenades, or go slow-mo and shoot their grenades and kill them that way. Do you have walls in every direction? Just wall jump over them. Do you have a shield guy running at you? Shotgun jump over them. This is a game that is deep through simplicity. Anyone can pick it up. The controls are move, crouch, jump, melee, and right click for slow-mo. That's all you need to know. You can play this game and get really good at it right away. It is so rewarding. Like, I keep harping on this, but it's one of those games where the more you play it, the more you see. And all those tools are fully utilized in the game's design, both in enemy design and map design. Since you have more movement, some of the maps are made more vertical, but in a way that doesn't feel annoying. The maps themselves are also not just linear hallways. There will be branching paths, but those branching paths will lead to different objectives and then go back around to where that branching path first started. And I know I'm done talking about graphics, but there's something about a certain brand of retro shooter that feels more like an early 2000s Unreal Tournament mod than a 90s retro shooter. Look at this. Tell me this doesn't just look like Killing Floor. In fact, this looks just like that one map, Bedlam. Sprawl is a complete game. It's not early access. There's no more chapters to be made. The story is completely done. All the content is there. It will take you roughly 5 to 6 hours depending on how much time you take to beat, which is a pretty average length for a shooter. And with the style of game this is, it's very replayable. So would I recommend Sprawl? Yeah, absolutely. As of right now, this is my boomer shooter of the year. I really like it. Hey, huge thanks to my YouTube members. If you become a YouTube member, you can see my videos at minimum a week ahead of time. Big thanks to everyone that joins me over on Twitch. I couldn't stream this game due to embargo reasons, but I usually stream every week. And of course, thank all of you for watching this video. Please subscribe. That would make me happy.